Hi, all. Welcome to TezTalks Radio. I'm your host, Marissa True. And for those of you who haven't yet tuned into our last episode, we interviewed Champ Medici or Cordell Broadus to talk about the Champ Medici Arts Fund initiative, what its mission is, how it seeks to empower rising creators, and what it means for representation in the Web3 space. In short, CMAF is a philanthropic effort of up to $1 million in funding geared to support the emerging and legacy musicians and artists across the globe interested in building and creating new creative and cultural works on the Tezos blockchain. Today, we're going to be speaking to one of those talented creators. I am joined by Malachi Wright. How are you today?
I'm feeling blessed. Thanks for having me.
So, Malachi, I think you can only be described by what I found across the internet, and you have a lot of accolades as a young emerging artist who's produced artwork for renowned rappers, including Young Thug and the one and only Snoop Dogg. And that was all before you actually even left high school. So, we'll start the interview off the way we always do, which is to basically dig into your background and your origin story of sorts. So, can you tell me about your story as an artist? What role did your family play? How did you come to dabble in, the mediums that you've used so far? Where did it all begin?
Well, so I'm from this area called Dixmoor. It's a small village about 5-10 minutes outside of the city of Chicago. And then basically I grew up in a family of artists pretty much. My mom, she's an artist. My brother, he's an artist, you know what I'm saying? So we all pretty much grew up collaborating with one another, you know what I'm saying, working together, and just finding ways to be inspired together. So like me and my brother, we would like watch TV shows growing up and like pause the channel as the show that we're watching and just draw, you know what I'm saying? Just collaborate on different little stuff like that, just to just be doing stuff together. And our mom, she would always give us pencils and give us paper, make sure we always had things to work with. And I remember growing up, like we had to bring like for the 100th day of school, we had to bring 100 things to school. And I was like trying to figure out what I should bring. My mom, she like, you should bring 100 drawings. So it's not like I had to create 100 drawings. We really just sat there and looked through probably over 100 drawings, and we were choosing like which ones to bring to school. And I feel like that was one of my first moments where I feel like I was able to show people outside of the people that I grew up with my artwork. And it was like one of the moments where people received it very well. Like, man, you drew this. This is so amazing. Like, can you draw me? And all that kind of stuff. So like throughout elementary school, a lot of people was always asking me to draw stuff, you know what I'm saying? If we were in class, can you draw my name? Can you draw this for my assignment? You know what I'm saying? So by the time I got to fifth grade, I started selling my artwork and to my classmates and even to my teachers for like, you know what I'm saying, $5 to $10, you know what I'm saying, depending on what they would want. And my brother, since he was drawing too, I was just asking him, like, you know what I'm saying, if somebody want to draw something, I give you a couple of orders too. So I was just taking orders from my classmates and my teachers, and we really was setting the foundation for my business, you know what I'm saying, already at that point in fifth grade. And that was just something I continued to do all throughout school. In middle school, I continued to, you know what I'm saying, just do work for people, my classmates. And by middle school, I pretty much started to reach out to audiences that outside of people that I knew for real, you know what I'm saying? Because I started posting my work on social media at that point. I mean, my Instagram, Facebook, you know what I'm saying, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, where I was just kind of posting my work there and people were seeing, you know what I'm saying, what I was creating. And then I was starting to get commissions at that point. I remember it was probably like my between like seventh and eighth grade. That's when my Instagram, like I really started becoming really invested into Instagram. In like eighth grade, I drew this picture of Chucky, a black version of Chucky. So it's this rapper named Famous Dex from Chicago, and I just gave him all of Famous Dex tattoos. So that picture, it got a lot of traction, you know what I'm saying, on Instagram. But it wasn't one of my biggest pieces, but it was definitely at that point, like, you know what I'm saying, it was a lot for that time period, you know what I'm saying. And then I had changed the tattoos to Young Thug's tattoos, his clothes, and his hair. And then one day I remember I was just sitting down. I was sitting on the toilet. I asked them to be completely honest. It made it even funnier. So I'm sitting on the toilet, looked through my emails, and I seen that his manager, she reached out to me. She like, Young Thug seen the picture and he wants to use it for a single cover. So you know what I'm saying? I'm excited on the toilet. I hurried up, you know what I'm saying, finished with doing what I was doing. Went to go tell my mom, like, you know what I'm saying, Young Thug, you know, she didn't even know who Young Thug was at the time. But I'm like having to explain to her who he is, you know what I'm saying? Like he just reached out and wanted to, you know what I'm saying, give some artwork for me. And at that point, it was That was my only. I sold that picture to him for $500, and I was only in 8th grade. So to me, I'm like, man, that felt like $500,000. You know what I'm saying? So it was just that probably was really one of the most inspiring. It was a very inspiring moment. You know what I'm saying? Especially leading into high school. I'm like, man, I was just in that moment. I'm thinking I'm not even in high school yet, and Young Thug just asked to, you know what I'm saying, use a single cover for me. So I just kept on creating. Like I never stopped. Of course, got into high school. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of my freshman year, I created this picture of like a whole bunch of rappers as Dragon Ball Z characters, and that was my first picture to actually go viral on like Twitter and then Instagram. Like overnight, I gained like 20,000 followers on Instagram, like 8,000 on Twitter. Just in one night after posting that picture, I seen World Star had posted it. Different rappers that were in the piece was commenting on it. Even rappers that weren't in the piece was commenting on it and liking the picture. Like it was just getting a lot of traction. Young Thug, he shared that picture, deleted all the pictures off his Instagram and shared that and put, "This is the best picture ever." You know what I'm saying? So at that point, it was just real lit. So my social media just kept on growing, really just kept on continuing to create, continue to collaborate with my brothers and my family. Like my father, I didn't mention, but he's a carpenter as well. So like he's always creating, he always working on something around the house. He always needs something to do. You know what I'm saying? He got to keep himself busy. So he always bringing in something new to work in or going up in the attic. He fixed our entire attic in my house up from scratch. You know what I'm saying? So even seeing him, you know what I'm saying, just start projects like that on his own just has inspired me through life to, you know, be proactive and just work with what I have. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, being an artist in the neighborhood that I grew up in, it's not something that's encouraged. People are not saying like, man, you should be an artist when you grow up. You should do this. Like a lot of people are trying to play basketball and play sports. You know what I'm saying? And go to the, you know what I'm saying, these major leagues. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much majority of the people I'm growing around goal. You know what I'm saying? As a young child, so it's like I felt the difference, you know what I'm saying, just growing up, just what my passion was compared to everybody else. And it really just fueled me. And then just without how people received me, the respect that people gave me just for what I created, it just made me continue to just grow, prosper. By the time I got to my junior year of high school, I did a picture of black comedians in a barbershop. And Steve Harvey ended up seeing that picture. Again, I got the email while I'm in school, you know what I'm saying, just looking through my email. And they asked to fly me out to the Steve Harvey show the same night that they reached out to be on the show the next day. So I flew out to LA for the first time with my mom. Was on the Steve Harvey show. They surprised me that Martin was on the show, and I didn't know I was gonna meet Martin Lawrence. You feel me? So that was just another one of the moments. It's just like, man, it can only go up from here, you know.
It sounds like you had everything kind of going in your favor, like everything was in your corner. You grew up in a household where creativity was truly celebrated, and I think that's a very fortunate thing. I think there's a lot of kids who come through and they focus on their school, they focus on their grades, and like it's not to say that you can't do both. So the fact that you had all of these drawings that you did with your brother, then you go into school and you have everyone encouraging you to basically build a business off the back of your talents. Because I think a lot of people, I think especially in my school, if you had a kid who was selling their stuff, it was shut down. So the fact that even
Yeah,
teachers were buying it was testament to how everyone wanted to celebrate your work.
yeah,
um, and I think it sets you up from a very young age to be quite enterprising about what you're creating. But then,
yeah.
when you had this moment where you're sitting on the toilet and you get this email from Young Thug's manager that they want to use your art, even though some of your work had started to blow up on social media, did you have any kind of sense that people were really noticing your art at that level already, or did it still come as like a total shock? Because you've mentioned Young Thug, you've mentioned Steve Harvey, Martin Lawrence, and then of course we can't ignore the fact that you were also asked to design the cover of Snoop Dogg's "I Want to Thank Me" album. So there
Yeah.
was this snowball of a momentum. Like, did you think this was all a surprise at the time, or did you kind of think, no, no, I deserve this? Like, I see where
Man,
this is.
I felt like since a young age I had high dreams. You know, I had dreams and aspirations and goals to obtain, you know what I'm saying, the attention of these people, you know what I'm saying? But I always when I drew a picture of somebody, my goal is, man, I hope this person sees the image, you know what I'm saying? Regardless of it's me actually putting my hardest effort out there to get them to see the picture, or just me putting it out there and hoping that they see it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like now I've got to a point where like when I release an image, man, like I have almost an expectation that, man, somebody might see it. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like it's gonna happen. But when I was younger, like I was getting attention from like I guess like social media stars that were up and coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think at that point it really wasn't like something I was expecting. Like when I created that picture, it wasn't in my mind that Young Thug was gonna reach out to me and actually ask to use the picture. So I think like the moment was just like, wow, this just really happened. You know what I'm saying? My first thoughts, man, I can't wait to tell everybody, you know what I'm saying? Because I know people gonna be lit for me, you know what I'm saying? So I was just I know my instance, I'll be so just geeked to spread the news, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like ultimately I don't think about how these moments gonna make just me feel, but I think about how it's gonna inspire the people around me. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like it's not like things like this is not something that happen all the time, especially where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? It's no other
Mm.
story that people could get this kind of story from. So it's like I'm excited to just tell it and just for people to hear it and people to be inspired and people to just know, like, man, it's a lot of things that we could do out here to be successful. You know what I'm saying? As long as we enjoy what we're doing and really, are passionate about it. You know what I'm saying?
So when Young Thug asked to use a piece that you had already created for the cover of one of their singles, when it came to Snoop Dogg's "I Want to Thank Me" album, was that something that you had already created, or was that something you were commissioned to make?
It was something I already created, and that's kind of like the predicament that it's kind of have been to this point. Like I think I'm at the point where I want to collaborate with a lot of more artists, where they hit me up and they have an idea and they want me to execute it. But since until now, it's been, what I'm saying, I've created something, they've seen it, and then they just want to use it.
Which is awesome because it's kind of like off the shelf. Your work has already been done, so it's just a
Yeah,
matter of getting it in the right
it's cool. I
hands.
just could, yeah, receive the benefits, so it's a blessing.
So you obviously also ran an online store to sell a lot of your work, and I think what was most impressive is I was reading your bio and that you actually used all of the money you generated off of your art to finance your college education, which is no easy feat in, a country like the States
Yeah,
where tuition is extremely expensive. And
yeah.
then during that time, you sold to other stars like Chance the Rapper, you sold to brands like ESPN. So, firstly, what was that like? What did you learn about running this online store? Like, what did you find challenging about essentially running a business off the back of your art? And then, secondly, how did you balance this with, your education, actually creating the art, and then managing a business?
Yeah, I feel like for me, since it's continuing to be a learning experience, something I'm continuing to learn more about. I always have questions for people. I'm always willing to learn more. You know what I'm saying? Because first starting out, I feel like for anybody who's running a business, I feel like our number one thought is, okay, we're making money. You know what I'm saying? The goal is to at least make some sort of money. But I feel like I had to learn all the other little intricacies about, what I'm saying, running a business. Like even for me, like when I first started my online shop, me and my mom had intentions on, okay, we're going to print out all these pieces and get all these tubes and ship them out to every last person. But I was like, luckily, a printer had reached out to me right during that time, because I think just even me thinking about the first day we tried to do it, it's like, man, this is gonna get chaotic. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna get real hard for the both of us, because this is like we trying to go to Office Depot and get it printed and then ship it off. It's like, first of all, like I got to make sure the cost is adding up with how much I'm spending, you know what I'm saying, to get this stuff shipped out and with what I want to make, you know what I'm saying. So I ended up working with a printer who's based in Houston. His name was Andrew, and up until like last year, I was working with him to sell my artwork and do clothing as well, you know what I'm saying, on my art pieces. But it was a learning experience there too, with just efficiency and not being able to be present in the setting where my artwork is being produced. And I think for me, that was a challenge, you know what I'm saying? Because I was able to run this business, but I wasn't able to see how the artwork is being printed, making sure that it's getting out there. You know what I'm saying? I was just always had to reach out to somebody else, you know what I'm saying, to see if everything was running smoothly. So for me, it was like I would definitely prefer to be present, you know what I'm saying, wherever my art is being produced. I want to see the artwork physically, you know what I'm saying? I haven't even, to this point now, I haven't even seen a lot of my digital pieces, you know what I'm saying, printed out. But now I'm working with a printer who's, you know what I'm saying, able who's local, and I'm able to see the artwork. My process is different. I'm been able to learn to understand the value of art more and how it grows over time. And I think for me, even as a business owner and as an artist, I'm in a position now where I'm trying to get people to understand the value of art more. And if they buy a piece from me that is limited, what that value means and how that it can grow over time, you know what I'm saying? How it's not just like they're buying something that's here and then they spent their money and they may never see no return, you know what I'm saying? Because it's return, ultimately it's an investment, whether it's something that you appreciate or not, you know what I'm saying? So I think for me, it's just learning the value of art and running the business, like doing taxes and stuff like that. Because I was in high school, you know what I'm saying? None of my classmates is doing taxes, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm having to learn this kind of stuff early, and it's like, man, IRS is reaching out to me like, man, I ain't do my taxes for the last 2 years. I'm like, man, I'm only a freshman in high school. How was I supposed to think about doing taxes? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, I'm late on my taxes. You know what I'm saying? Just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't even know I had to do them. You know what I'm saying? So that's like just the little stuff I've been having to learn, just running the business, like all the little intricacies. And now I'm just continuing to learn, just continue to learn.
I love the fact that you had to start paying taxes in high school, because I think taxes are one of those things that we all tell ourselves, I wish someone taught me how to do those
Yeah,
earlier. And there you are having to learn it much earlier and being like, nah, just wait till later. Like, I'd
yeah,
rather we didn't have to pay the taxes. But I think what you made a very, very important point, which is that, as a digital artist, I think there is often this disconnect between your art as a digital piece and then how it exists in the offline world, as it
mhm,
were, and how you change that process so that you could actually also enjoy your art offline the way that the people who are purchasing it could.
yeah,
And to hone in on the artwork itself, what inspires your work, like how is this all reflected in your collection? Because i've I've gone through your website, and I know there's so much reference to music and culture, and also anime, and there's just so many different elements that come together. So, like, how do you see these juxtaposed pieces
yeah. I feel like
form?
growing up, I've just like me and my brother are the same, just been able to pull inspiration from really everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Anything that I feel like relates to me in my life has had an impact. And is that's what I'm going to be inspired to create. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna draw anything or anyone that hasn't, I feel like, influenced me in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? That's like since I've been little, like things like uh cartoons like SpongeBob, Boondocks. I feel like Family Guy, you know what I'm saying? Just those styles of animation, you know what I'm saying? Growing up is something that I really was like, driven towards, you know what I'm saying? Just because of how it looked. Like Boondocks, I didn't even necessarily start watching the show before I was appreciating how the show actually looked, you know what I'm saying? And shows like Family Guy, like my parents wasn't letting me watch Family Guy, but I still liked how the animation style looked, you know what I'm saying? So I'm drawing Family Guy characters, drawing Boondocks characters, you know what I'm saying? Drawing Dragon Ball Z characters, all these different shows, you know what I'm saying? All these different styles. And I think growing up as an artist was for me really trying to find my style, you know what I'm saying? What is my style of art? Because I like how these styles look. So I was like recreating a lot of these characters, you know what I'm saying? Drawing different people in these styles, you know what I'm saying? And when I was younger, like I would just draw people, you know what I'm saying? Just straight up, you know what I'm saying? Draw people. And I feel like that was me kind of learning, okay, this is my style, and I'm just going, you know what I'm saying, straight out, and not saying referencing anything, because I feel like there's always some sort of reference, but not referencing another style or anything like that. So I was kind of just learning to develop my style, and I feel like the transitional period came for me when I feel like I really felt like, okay, I found my style was probably like during high school, you know what I'm saying, when I created like the comedy shop piece, because that was one of the first pieces that I conceptualized in a way where it's like I didn't really reference an image, but I referenced multiple images and created a scene from my own, you know what I'm saying, mind basically, you know what I'm saying. Whereas in the past I might have referenced an exact image. Well, I still do that now, but like oftentimes like I'd like to create images that are built just straight from, you know what I'm saying, scratch, you know what I'm saying, where I feel like it's a different kind of personal relationship that I have with these pieces when it's like that. But I feel like in terms of inspiration, it's really just from everywhere. Like the movies I watch, you know what I'm saying, the shows that I watch, the music that I listen to. Because anytime I'm drawing, listening to music. Like I be telling people, like as I'm drawing a piece, like if I'm drawing a piece of a whole bunch of rappers, I'm listening to those rappers when I'm drawing them. You know what I'm saying? I'm really infusing myself in the world of these people. You know what I'm saying? If I'm drawing something based off a movie, I might be watching that movie while I'm creating a piece. You know what I'm saying? Just really trying to engulf myself in a vibe, and I feel like ultimately that it helps the piece come out better. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the type of person who really analyzes people. You know what I'm saying? And how they look. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm talking to somebody, like I'm sometimes I even lose track of what you're saying because I'm just looking at you. You feel me? It's just because I'm like analyzing, like man, I really be thinking in my mind, like man, if I was drawing you, I'd draw you like this. You know what I'm saying? I'd probably use these kind of colors. Like I'd be thinking that when I'm talking to people. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's just kind of it's in me. You know what I'm saying? The art is in me, and it's something I'm being inspired right now. You know what I'm saying? All the time.
So you're basically a very, very visual person. And I think that the thing that I really enjoyed about a lot of your work was that, it wasn't just themed around major hip hop artists. There was everyone. So you could find everyone from, Tupac to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to Obama. And then you would find them in all of these different sort of contexts that you wouldn't necessarily expect to find in a piece of art, but at the
Yeah.
same time makes you feel like, oh, this is so familiar, I know about this. Like, it's a group of them in a living room, it's a
Right.
roller skating rink. There's all of these nostalgic elements that you don't really think to remember until you're looking at the piece and noticing all of these tiny, tiny details and being like, I can't believe he added that in there. Like, it's all
Yeah.
really there. So when it comes to your artistic process, as you mentioned, you kind of hone in, you listen to the music, you watch the films, you like watch the TV shows. Can you give me an example of one of your favorite pieces and tell me the story of how it came to be?
Yeah, I guess I could go. One of my favorite piece that I've probably done is the Shorties piece of the Chicago rappers on the corner. And one, because that's definitely one of my most popular pieces, the Chicago connection. You feel me? It felt just at home. You know what I'm saying? I remember creating that piece. Like we watching just a whole bunch of different Chicago videos, whether that's music or just like different scenes. You know what I'm saying? Different popular videos. I remember some of my homies, like my homie Cody, was over the crib. A lot of the time, I was working on that piece, and he was just, you know what I'm saying, telling me how I should do this rapper, you know what I'm saying? How I has to do his head in this piece. So like when I'm drawing these pieces, I'm definitely always asking my close friends and my brothers, like, man, what should I do with this? Like, so a lot of the ideas sometimes it's like people that I'm cool with too, you know what I'm saying? My close friends and family. Like I'm also pulling inspiration and ideas from those that I'm around, you know what I'm saying? And for that piece, it's inspired off a photograph actually. And when I seen that picture, it just felt like Chicago. You feel me? I'm like, man, it's like they at the crib right now, you know what I'm saying? I sat on that idea for like I feel like a couple of months before I actually created the piece. You know what I'm saying? I remember one night before I was going to bed, I'm like, man, I was kind of just thinking on like, man, what's the next thing I'm gonna create? You know what I'm saying? And I got like this folder in my phone camera called Inspiration. It's just like different photographs. So I was looking at that picture. I'm like, man, I think this might be the next one. You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking like, okay, I, I kind of automatically put the Chicago connection. So I was just thinking like, man, which rappers should I use? You know what I'm saying? So I started like counting the amount of people that's in the picture, like thinking like, man, it's like I feel like it's like the perfect amount of people in this picture for like the artist that's really thriving in Chicago right now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and
And
just
that
put
was
this.
that was actually another thing that I understood, like as an element of your work that I really observed was this isn't like you having one particular main character in mind and
Mhm.
then drawing them out. There are so many different people that everyone would know and recognize, all infused into one piece, and it's just somehow perfectly balanced. And like, I wonder what's going through your mind when you think, this one's going to have 16 people and this one's going to have four, and like, and who you choose to involve in each piece, because there's there's like consistency throughout. Like it all makes sense, but at the same time you can't really verbalize why it makes sense. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I feel like a lot of times when it comes to like just determining who I'm going to include in the image, it's based off the concept. Like in the picture, the session picture with all the notable stoners, you know what I'm saying, smoking together. Like I was literally, you know what I'm saying, smoking with my brothers, you know what I'm saying. We all just sitting together. I'm like, man, they like, I forgot which one of them said it, but that man, you should do a picture of a whole bunch of famous smokers, you know what I'm saying? So we just sitting there smoking and we just naming like, okay, I got my phone out. We naming like different people that smoke. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just putting in my notes. You know what I'm saying? I don't really think about the number. Like I can kind of tell, like, man, it's a lot of people. It's gonna be a lot of people in this picture. So sometimes I try to like, man, take people out if I feel like it's gonna be too crowded and if I feel like they don't really fit as much as the other people, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely do be people that's in the process that get taken out, you know what I'm saying, as I'm creating, you know what I'm saying? Unless it's like I'm referencing an image where it's like the shorties piece and it's only like 6 people in this picture. So like I'm
Right.
only I'm only gonna do 6 people, you know what I'm saying? Like it's always gonna be somebody missing. Like I'll be reading the comments that it's always somebody missing according to people. So I'm like, for me, I mean, I feel like if it's somebody missing, I did something right. You know what I'm saying? Because the piece looks good enough that somebody else should have been in there. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
someone else wanted to involve someone else. I think I
Yeah.
really liked the Sonus piece, particularly because I noticed that in the very back corner, much smaller than everyone else, was Seth Rogen, and I thought it was hilarious because, of course, he would be there. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was actually one of my favorite pieces that I stumbled across when I was looking through your work. And then tell me more about America's Most Wanted Redemption, because obviously that was the piece that you created for Object.com as part of the Champ Medici Arts Fund. What was it that
Yeah.
inspired that? Because, you know, you have hip hop icons and you have them in the Wild West. Like,
Yeah.
what was the thinking behind that piece?
Yeah, so basically, after I created the session piece, that's when I was able to gift it to Snoop. You know what I'm saying? I was able to link up with Snoop, and then after that moment, Cordell had reached out to me about the art fund. You know what I'm saying? So we had a phone call conversation one night where he was really just breaking it down to me what the art fund was. You know what I'm saying? How it was really just a grant that would give just artists an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? To showcase themselves, to get receive help. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, man, it really felt like a golden opportunity. He was definitely somebody I wanted to work with. You know what I'm saying? He put me in a position around a lot of people who were really supportive, really helpful, and I was just grateful. I have been grateful the entire process, and really during that phone call conversation, we kind of like just chopping up over like what I could do. You know what I'm saying? He mentioned the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and I kind of was dwelling on that idea for a long time, and I knew he just was talking about how people we could knew that we could utilize that would help us support, you know what I'm saying, the collection. So I was just kind of like dwelling on that idea, and then it just kind of ended where I was just decided to work with particularly Death Row because I knew I would get that support, you know what I'm saying, from the people that I would use in those images. So I would kind of just still was dwelling on the concept, and that the Wild Wild West element was something I feel like I wanted to play with. Just being in California, you know what I'm saying, being in the West Coast, I feel like it resonated very well with just the entire idea. And during that time period, I was playing this game called Red Dead Redemption a lot. You know what I'm saying? So that old Western element was something that was just in my mind, you know what I'm saying? And I was listening to Tupac, and when I listen to Tupac lyrics, I feel like I always get that vibe, that cowboy, that because he always talk about being the outlaw, and you could tell that they been pulling the inspiration from the same things. Like my pops, he grew up watching a lot of westerns, like Bonanza and shows like that, and I feel like that's been always like just a idea that I wanted to work with. You know what I'm saying? So the first piece that I was just looking at inspiration through photographs. So I came across this picture of the Compton Cowboys, and then just a couple of this Oklahoma photographer who was taking pictures at like different of different horses and people on horses. So I was just worked with that one, and I seen this picture of these people on horses in front of this liquor store. I'm like, man, I got to put them right here. You know what I'm saying? Because I was just deciding, man, do I want to put them in an old Western setting? But I feel like I wanted to just still bring that today's element into the piece. You know what I'm saying? So I decided to go with, you know what I'm saying, putting them in that, just fusing those two worlds of old Western and then today's, you know what I'm saying, element, just trying to just showcase what Death Row represented through that time, but through images. And I know when I was showing my brothers the piece, I like, man, this feel like a video game, you know what I'm saying? They feel like this is something they need to turn into actual game, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, that'd be hard.
Well, I mean, maybe that's what's next. I think you're bang on in terms of describing the fact that it looks like a Wild Wild West, a very vintage sort of backdrop, but at the same time it could be super modern. So it's actually
Mhm.
very hard for the viewer to determine at what point in time it is. And of course, when you see when you see the figures that are included in the piece, you think, ah, okay, this is definitely modern times, just
Right.
recontextualized, like reimagined. But I mean, the thing that we really need to dig into here is when Cordell pitched the Medici Arts Fund to you, and he naturally introduced the Web3 element and the fact that your work was going to exist as an NFT. What was your thinking there? Were NFTs something that you had looked at before at all, or was this the very start of it? What was your
Yeah,
thinking when you thought of
I
that?
had did a NFT project the year before, so that was my first time really diving into the NFT space, and it was, what I'm saying. Of course, everybody knows how much attention that it was getting like a year ago, or, what I'm saying, 2 years ago. Like, it was really hot at that point. So I'm like, at that point, me being an artist, what I'm saying, a lot of people reaching out to me, man, you should do NFTs. What I'm saying, you should, what I'm saying, figure out how you could be invested into this world. Now, honestly, I didn't really take too much action into it until a friend of mine named Joshua Tatum kind of brought me aboard on this NFT project that he was putting together. What I'm saying? He wanted me to curate the art for that project. And I was like, it was cool to just to see it. It was a pretty successful, what I'm saying, in terms of how they pitched the entire project, the whole process of working on it, just seeing how it worked. What I'm saying? Just, I know how the Bored Apes had the different characters. It was a similar sort of collection, what I'm saying? So it was just like, learning the space then was just interesting to just kind of dive into the crypto world too, what I'm saying? Just seeing how money was different, what I'm saying? And also, even now, just seeing how people's perspectives were then and how they are now has been interesting, what I'm saying? I feel like it has been a lot of change in the space, what I'm saying? It's changing, what I'm saying? I feel like it's gonna continue to change, what I'm saying? I feel like how it is now, it's not how it's gonna be in a couple of years from now. Cause I feel like just me viewing the NFT space and the Web3 space, it seems like it's for a greater purpose. You know what I'm saying? Even when it first came out, I felt like NFTs was almost like a prototype to something that, so for a bigger vision, what I'm saying, in terms of how it's going to be utilized. So I think now I've been able to really like see, okay, like I feel like it's something bigger coming from this. You know what I'm saying?
So, in terms of the first time you dabbled with NFTs, and then now this being, I guess, the second time, what were the key learnings that you had between the two different experiences?
Uh, so this time I feel like it was more of a little more independent, because in a way last time I really wasn't just, my only focus in that sense was just creating the artwork. Of course, who I was working with, they were trying to educate me a little bit on the space, what I'm saying, but they were pretty much handling most of the technical things that I really didn't have to worry about. Whereas now I feel like it's me kind of trying to figure out more how to pitch my collection, how to push my collection, so how to get it into the eyes of people who are actually invested into buying NFTs, what I'm saying, how to just tap more into that world. And just, I feel like it's been important to learn more about it, what I'm saying, learn how people are navigating in the space to really find success in that space. I feel like now I've kind of been learning that more.
So, has this experience in any kind of way opened more doors for you? Is this something where you want to continue planning to incorporate digital or Web3 elements into your work? Because given, the vast majority of your work, or if not all your work, is digitally based.
Mhm.
So, and we spoke earlier about how there's a lot of significance in experiencing your digital art in an offline space, but is there also significance in experiencing your art in this Web3 space as well?
Yeah, I feel like after doing this collection, I've really, it's been making a lot of things, what I'm saying, flow in my brain, like how I could approach this now, and how I can even approach this in future collections. Like, I feel like really merging those worlds, I feel like it's actually very important in terms of the digital and the physical, even when I'm working with both of them. Because I feel like offering physical things to incentivize people to be more invested into the Web3 space is helpful and it's crucial. You know what I'm saying? I think it does help people even understand more, what I'm saying, of what they're even investing towards, what I'm saying? So I think for me, it's just also just been learning, like, okay, how can I make people more invested into buying an NFT outside of just they're going to get an NFT, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think what's also interesting is the fact that it also opens up this world of other artists. And you were saying earlier that, when you buy a piece of art, it is an investment, but it's not an investment that you're trying to flip. It's not something that you're necessarily just trying to create a return on. Like, this is an investment because it is something important, it's something valuable. So as you, I guess, navigated the very, very vast waters of NFTs, there are so many out there. Did you start to discover new artists that you hadn't come across before? Did you start to collect any NFTs yet, or are you still early on in that journey?
I feel like I'm still early in the journey for sure. I've been noticing that a lot of the artists is different, you know what I'm saying, in the space. Like a lot of the three-dimensional art, a lot of animations I've been peeping, you know what I'm saying. A lot of people, it's like I feel like it's a lot of variations of images. Like if I look at different artists' collections, I can't really name any off the top of my head, but I was looking at a couple, and I noticed how a lot of their just artwork was very, you know what I'm saying, similar. You know what I'm saying. Then it was just interesting to see like how people valued their pieces too. You know what I'm saying? Because I was just trying to understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like what goes into how people price their projects. You know what I'm saying? Is it based on like their value as an artist, you know what I'm saying, how they have established themselves so far, or just their value in the NFT space, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that's another part of the learning process. In the same way that when you first set up your online store, you were trying to figure out the pricing of your pieces according to how much it was going to cost to print and so on. I think with art NFTs in particular, there are a lot of similar dynamics. Like, is it the clout of the artist, the number of editions, the marketplace it exists on? And I think for Tezos in particular, because it is such a rich artist ecosystem, it's everything from JPEGs to poetry to generative art that's written by code, and there's so many different elements that come into play. And I think these are also a lot of emerging artists like yourself who are sort of figuring that out and like figuring where they want to land in the space. um, do you think that you're going to continue on experimenting with NFTs as a digital artist, or how do you see this playing out into the future?
I feel like I want to, as long as I feel like it's the right decision, you know what I'm saying? If I feel like going into it, it's like, you know what I'm saying, projects like this where I feel like, okay, it's a clear vision of what I know for sure that it's a win-win situation, you know what I'm saying, going into it. I feel like I want to continue to go into those type of situations, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's definitely a lot of opportunity here. It's a lot to be learned. And I think for sure it's something for me, with me being a digital artist, is something I want to continue to learn more about and just even see how people are receiving the space, you know?
And with this eye towards the future, basically, my last question for you is, what have you got planned next? Like, what's coming up on the calendar?
And just really continue to create more artwork. I'm looking forward to graduating school, you know what I'm saying? When I graduate from school, I have a lot of ideas, you know what I'm saying? I definitely want to dive into the world of film more, with even acting, you know what I'm saying? I've acted in high school, you know what I'm saying? So that's something I want to get more into now. I've been working on a children's show, so that's something I really want to be invested towards, you know what I'm saying, now, and hoping by the time I graduate college, I could really get into the pushing out element of that show, you know what I'm saying, getting that out to the world, you know.
I think it's wild that, we've been in conversation for almost 40 minutes now, and we've covered this really, really busy chapter of your life as an
Yeah.
emerging digital artist, and you've not even graduated college yet, which I think that's wild. Like, I think it's amazing to see someone who's embraced their talent so much. So for the viewers or the listeners who are tuning into this, can you tell them where to find your work so they can go check it out?
Yes, you could go to my website. It's www.thewrightart.net, right with a W, and you go to my Instagram, the_Wright Artist, the
Perfect.
underscore right, the underscore artist.
So
All the
the
information is on
underscore
my
right
site too.
underscore artist.
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay. Well,
I
Malachi, thank you
definitely
so much for your
appreciate
perspective.
everything. Thank you, thank you.
We'll speak again soon.
Of course, thank you.